Okay, so today is Thursday, the 22nd of June, 2023, and the title is Access and a Fibonacci Wedding Cake. This Fibonacci wedding cake has 0 calories because it's a mathematician's wedding cake, and 0 is one of mathematicians' favorite numbers, but that's a joke. It arose from an interaction between accessibility and a math research problem. And fortunately, the math research problem itself can be quite easily described. And I found that the problem, accessibility, positively influenced the problem, and also the problem, I think, has positively influenced accessibility. And we're very fortunate here to have Janet, who is, I think, a high school or that sort of age student, who is blind, uses a screen reader and a braille display. And this is a mathematical talk, but don't worry, there's no complicated symbols. It's all about patterns of numbers. So, you know, there are the even numbers and the odd numbers, and you might know about the prime numbers and the powers of 10, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, all the way up to billions. And the starting point is going to be what's called Pascal's triangle, although a Chinese person discovered it several centuries before Pascal did. And in print, it's usually displayed as a triangle, a bit like a Christmas tree, you know, with a summit and a decoration at the top. And it goes down in diagonals, and you've got diagonals going down to the left and diagonals going down to the right. And as I said, that's the usual way it's displayed in print. And because of what I was doing with my Fibonacci numbers, I felt that the left aligned version of that would be better. Now, I'm not going to ask Janet to make an opinion on that, but we'll just see things in practice. So I think you told me, Janet, that Pascal's triangle is a bit new to you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So can you go to Pascal's triangle, the second version on the web page, that has a 1 in the top left, which has a 1 in the top left corner.
Okay, let me see. Oops.
Can you tell me what the numbers are on the next row?
Let me get that really quick. Okay, now I'm there. It's 1.
That's the first row. The second row?
1. Is that?
There should be 2 numbers. There should be a 1 in the first column and a 1 in the second column.
Okay, let me see. The first one, hold on, I see 1. Okay, 2. Yeah, it's 2.
Okay, so are you going down the columns or along the rows?
I'm going to now. I'm going to the columns.
Okay.
Earlier, I was going to the rows.
Okay. What we have to do is we have to alternate rows and columns.
Okay.
So it's a bit like reading the lines of a book when you're sighted. You read one line, and when you get to that one line, you move on to the next line.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some of the entries are blank, and when you get a blank entry in a row, that's the end of the row. So.
Okay, yeah, I got the blank part, yes.
Okay. So can you tell me what the entries are on the second row?
Okay, so I think the second row would be 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1. Okay, so right, okay, sorry, I missed it. Okay. Column 2 is...
No, we want row 2.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, it's row 4, row 3. It's 1.
Okay, okay. The first row should be 1. Can you read that? And then nothing else.
Nothing though. Okay then. It's let me go back because okay, and column 1 is nothing.
It may be that the numberings have gotten wrong because don't have headings and
Yeah.
row titles. So this is a bare table.
Mm-hmm.
And
Column 2.
can you read the last row of the table to me so that I know what you're seeing?
Which one, Jonathan?
The last row in the current table, please, Janet.
Okay, row 3 or in the row 2?
Can you read any row you want from the table?
Column 1, row 4 is empty.
Column 1, row 4.
Row 5 is there's something there.
I know what you're doing. I think you're looking at the first table.
Yes, yeah, I'm there.
Okay, so we're at complete cross purposes. And the thing that I've learned is that every object on the page should have a unique identifier and you should refer to it. And it should be work for both people.
Okay, now I think I'm in the second one.
Yeah.
There's 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And column 1, there's 1. Column 2 is 1. Let me see. It's just like pretty much empty on column 3, column 4.
Yeah. So you're getting a feel for the table. Can I ask you to start at a particular place, which is at the very first cell, the very first cell of the very first row?
Okay, let me see.
And that should be the number 1.
Okay. Okay.
Can you go down 1 row?
It's okay. It says 1.
Can you go to the right 1 row?
It says a blank.
No, it should be a 1.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah. Okay, I see that.
Okay. Can you go down to the beginning of the next row?
Column 2. You want me to go there?
Yeah, that will do. What number do you have there?
I have 2.
Excellent. Okay. Can you go to the beginning of that row?
I see 1.
And then if you move right, you get...
It's a blank.
No, you're not at the beginning of the row. You might be at the end of the row.
Okay, I think so. It jumped me down there. Okay, 5 columns and 5 rows.
That's the one. Can you go to column 1, row 3?
Okay, let me. Column 1.
Row 3.
Okay. Okay. 2. I see 2. Okay.
No.
1.
Okay. Row 4. So can you read row 3 to me? From the beginning of the row.
Okay. It says beginning of the row. I see 1, another 1, 2, another 1, and then 2, 1.
Okay, so there's a 1, 2, 1 there, isn't there?
3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4.
Ah, okay. There's something a bit funny about your navigation, which is making the exercise rather hard, and it's imposing a lot of cognitive burden. So if we were to do this again, we'd want something so that I could understand how your screen reader was working and so forth.
Okay.
So let me. Can I ask if you're using the Braille display or the screen reader to read the table?
I am I'm reading it with the JAWS. I'm reading it with JAWS.
With dots?
With JAWS. Screen reader.
Jaws?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you navigate the table with the arrow keys?
Yeah.
So
I'm using the table reading keys like alt and like the to go to the rows, it's alt control and then left and right. And then when I just go to the rows, I'm just using the down arrow and up arrow to do that. Nice. Okay.
it would help if I had some experience myself with the screen reader.
So now I'm just using it with, okay. So in the first row, I'm using I'm using control and right arrow. It says
Right.
now I see 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1. I don't know if they're the 4, 6, 4.
Excellent. So what you've just read to me is the last 3 or 4 rows of the table. I'm interested in dealing with the table 1 row at a time.
Okay, so that's the row that I was in, and then now if I move to the next column, I can just use, let me see. It says now, and then now it says end of row because I have nothing there now.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the rows in the table was 1, 3, 3, 1.
Okay, now you want me to go to the next column?
No. One of the rows of the table was 1, 3, 3, 1. And 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 is 8.
8, yeah.
And the previous row was 1, 2, 1. And 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. And 4 plus 4 is equal to 8.
8.
And Pascal's triangle is a way of decomposing powers of 2. So what I want to do is explain to you, using the table, how we got from 1, 2, 1 to 1, 3, 3, 1.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what would be ideal, and I don't know if we can manage it, is if you could go to the first 3 in the 1, 3, 3, 1 table, in the 1, 3, 3, 1 row.
Okay, so go to column 2, 3, 1, 4.
Yeah.
6.
We don't want to read the column. We want to stay. Just at that. Okay. We just want to stay at that point. This is very tedious. So when we get to that 3, we don't want to move on.
Okay.
We just want to be okay.
Let me
now
go
I
back.
want you. Okay. So go to one of the entries that's got a 3 in it.
3, 3, 1. That one?
Yeah, but just stay at the entry that's got the 3 in it.
Okay.
And go up 1 row. Still stay in the same column. So go up 1 step in the column.
1, 2, 1.
Yeah, you're on the row 1, 2, 1, but you go to the number 2. If you're at the 3 and you go up 1 step, you go to the number 2.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And if you go back 1 step on that on that row, you get the number 1.
Yes.
So now we're motoring because 1 plus 2 equals 3.
Yes.
I know that's trivial, but 1 plus 2 equals 3. And that's where the 3 comes from.
Oh, when they're doing it with the table. I get it now. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I got it.
So if you go from the current 3 to the next 3 and go up 1 column, sorry, up 1 row, go up in the column, there'll be a 1.
Yes.
And if you go back to the left in the row, there'll be a 2.
Yes, I see that.
And 2 plus 1 is 3.
3. Yes.
Okay. Now, one of the magical things about the Pascal's triangle is that it reads the same forwards and backwards.
Oh, okay.
1, 3, 3, 1 is the same as reading it backwards.
Yes, I get it now.
And 1, 2, 1 is the same reading forwards and backwards. Do you know what 11 times 11 is? If you know your tables, it's 120.
Yeah, 122.
121.
Oh, is it 1, 2? Oh, yeah.
And it's the same 1, 2, 1 as is in Pascal's triangle.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, so let's go to the last row. That starts with a 1.
Yeah, it's a 1, 1, 3, 3.
Okay, so the last row is 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. I can read that. I'm not memorizing it. But if we start at the 1 and go up, we get a 1. Can you see that? Can you navigate that with the keyboard and see that?
Okay, which part are you on, Jonathan?
I want to be at the bottom of the first column.
Okay. Row 1 and...
So we want row 5, column 1.
Row 5, column 1, okay.
And when we're at that square and we go up 1, there'll be a 1.
Okay, column 1 and then go 1. The last one is the 1.
Yeah.
Yes, the last digit is 1.
Yeah. Can you go to one of the 4s in the last row?
Okay.
Now
Yes.
go up 1.
6.
No. You're going right 1 if you go from 4 to 6.
Okay, go 1, 3, 3, 1. Is that the
Yeah.
one you want? Okay.
Yeah. So if you're at the last row,
Mm-hmm.
and well, let's start at the 6 because there's only one 6. Go to the 6 in the last row. Now, if you go up 1,
Yeah.
you should see a 3.
Oops,
And
I see.
if you go to the left 1, you should see another 3.
1, 3, 3, 1, 3. I see
Yeah.
the 3. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see that the 2 3s add up to 6.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Pascal's triangle is generated by a simple rule, which is you build it from the top to the bottom. So you start with just a 1 by itself. Then underneath it, you put a 1 1, and then underneath it, you put a 1 2 1. And the rule is that each number is equal to the number immediately above it, together with the number that's left and above it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so in 1 3 3 1,
Mm-hmm.
the 3 is beneath the 2, and it's diagonally beneath the 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's how it works. Okay.
So we've done something clever here.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 1 is, I don't know how's your mental arithmetic?
Okay, so
1 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 1.
16.
Yes! And it has to be 16 because 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 is 8.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And every number in the 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 has contributed to the next row twice.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, once straight down and once across diagonally.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to, so to speak, the calculation is self-checking.
Yeah, and then you can do it mentally, like I did. It's just like you just have to follow the rules, how you deal with it.
Yeah, there's just 2 simple rules. There's just one rule really, which is take a number in a row and the next number in the row and write it beneath.
Yes.
Okay, so underneath the 6, if we continued the program,
Mm-hmm.
the triangle, we'd go 1 4, so we put a 5 there underneath.
Mm-hmm.
4 6, so we put a 10 there.
Yes.
And then we get a 6 4, so we put another 10, and then we get 4 1, so we put another 5, and then we get 1 plus a space, and so we put a 1, and that's the end of it. And that's given us the next row, which is 1 5 10 5 1.
Yes.
Sorry, 1 10 10 5 1.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 plus 10 plus 10 plus 5 plus 1 is 32.
32.
Okay. And Pascal's triangle, when you have a lot of numbers, gives you a shape that's called a bell curve, which is used a lot in statistics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it now.
Okay. Okay. So this is great because we're actually on schedule here, because I've taught you about Pascal's triangle, and we're talking at the same level in terms of using the screen reader. And I've learned some things about presenting information, and we can get on to the Fibonacci numbers, which I had a small conversation with you before we started because you hadn't seen them before.
Okay, great.
Okay, so let's reprise that. The Fibonacci numbers go 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. And each is the sum of the two previous. With the powers of 2, we took double the previous. So 1, 2, 4, 8, double the previous number, which is why we used twice, every number in the previous row twice. But here we want something like the Pascal's triangle, but we have to use every number in the previous row and every number in the row before that one.
Awesome. Okay, now I'm getting it. Yeah, okay.
Okay, and for my peculiar mathematical reasons, I want to write the Fibonacci numbers in the same way as I write the Pascal's triangle.
Okay.
Okay, now here there's a table with about 6 columns, 6 or 7 columns, and about 8 rows. And I'd like you to find that table. And I'll explain the table as we go along. There's a description in the page, but I'll just explain it to you as we go along.
Okay, where right now you want me to go there?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Now we're on the bottom of columns. Let me see. Which one do you want me to go, Jonathan?
Okay, so there's one that says Fibonacci. There's a heading that says Fibonacci 0, 1, 2, 3. And the first cell says 0 equals.
Okay, let me find it if I could see it.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. See
Excellent. Okay, so let me explain that row to you. It's an equation. 0 equals, and there's a dot that indicates that there's nothing there.
Oh, okay.
In the old days, before 0 was introduced, they used the dot instead of 0 just to indicate that there's a number that's 0. 0 is somebody actually invented is 0. And then I put an X in to indicate that we're at the end of the row.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have 1 equals. So we have a 0 equals row and we have a 1 equals row. And that goes 1x.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Okay. And then oddly enough, there's another 1 equals row. And that also goes 1x.
1x, yeah.
We okay so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want you to go to the row that says 2 equals.
Okay, let me see.
Okay. Everything's a bit skewy and funny and strange, but it's got a reason. Everything's being done for a reason. And the reason is it's being done to make things work. So the 2 equals row, you can read it yourself. It goes 1 dot 1 x for end of row.
Okay, 5 plus I see 5 plus 1 plus 1.
No, where are we?
I think so. Hold on, let me see. Equals 21. Okay.
Have you got 2 equals?
2 equals.
That's the 4th row.
Oh, it's weird that it's not reading it to me. Hold on, let me see. Let me go to my table reading keys. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So column 2 is 0 x. Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Hold on.
Is it not reading the dot?
Yeah, it does. Okay,
Okay.
0 dot x.
Yeah. So that's the first row. The next row, 0 equals 1x.
0 equals x. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go back to the first because oh, okay. 0 equals okay, now I'm going x 0 0 equals and then the dot.
I'll tell you what I'll do is
X.
I'll ask you to we'll do the first few rows just by talking about them.
Okay.
So 0 equals nothing, equals a dot, nothing.
Yeah.
1 equals 1 and 1 equals 1. Those are the next 2 rows. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll write that as 1 dot 1. Where those 2 1s came from the 2 previous rows.
Okay.
Now let's write 3 equals, and we're going to write 1, 1, 1, 1 plus 1 plus 1.
Okay.
And 2 of those 1s came from the 2, and 1 of them came from the 1. So we've used both the previous rows.
Okay.
Okay, so far nothing interesting is happening, but then we write 5 is equal to 1 plus 3 plus 1.
Yes. Okay.
And what's happened is that the 2 1s at the beginning and end of the 5 row
Mm-hmm.
have come from the 2 equals 1 dot 1.
Yes.
And the 3 has come by combining the 3 1s in the 3 row.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 is 1.
I got it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. So we can write 5 equals 1 plus 3 plus 1. And the 3
Yes.
came from the previous row, and the 2 1s came from the row before.
Yes. That's why it turned out to be 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the next calculation is 3 is 1, 1, 1.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 is 1, 3, 1.
Mm-hmm.
And we get 1, 3 dot 3, 1, which is 8, which is 3
8.
plus 5.
Yes.
And the 1 at the beginning of the 5 gives you the 1 at the beginning of the 8. The 1 at the end of the 5 gives you the 1 at the end of the 8.
8.
And then we've got 2 3s. And one of those 3s comes from the 5 row.
Yes.
And the other 3 comes from combining together all the 1s in the 3 row.
Yes. Yeah. I'm following. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So having warmed up on the Pascal triangle, we see that there's something similar going on here.
Yeah,
but
the pattern.
But we're getting the Fibonacci numbers, and the rules are getting a bit more interesting. So let's do 8 plus 13 equals 21. And this will tax your memory unless you're really good with your navigation on the table. I don't think I could do it from memory, but 8 is 1 plus 3 dot 3 plus 1.
Okay.
And 13 is 1, 3, 5, 3, 1.
Yeah, because you added them all together. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the values you've already got. And then the one at the beginning of the 13 goes into the 21 to give you 1. And the one at the end goes into the 21 to give you a 1.
A 1.
And then the one in the 8 and the 3 goes to give you a 4.
Yes.
And that goes on both sides.
Yes.
And I can see everything, so I don't have to use my short-term memory. What's left is a 3 and a 3 and a 5.
Yeah.
That's all that's left. And that goes into an 11 in the middle.
Yeah.
And that gives you that 21 is 1 plus 4 plus 11 plus 4 plus 1.
Yes.
And that's easy with mental arithmetic, because the 1 plus 4 is a 5. And 5 plus 11 plus 5 is 21.
It's 21.
Yeah.
That's how I'm calculating it too. I'm not using anything right now. I'm just following what you're saying, and I'm just mental counting them, adding them.
Yeah. So you're not. But what you're not seeing is the pattern of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the pattern of the things with navigating. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle but if you go to the 11 in the 21 row,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see that immediately above it is the 5 in the 13 row.
Okay. No, I could still even though I'm not navigating with the screen reader, I follow how the pattern, like how we're doing it, though. I can like mental
Yeah. The verbal explanation allows you to form a diagram in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that relies on me being there to tell you, because all I'm doing is reading the diagram that's on the screen.
Okay.
Okay. So
but I can see how you solve it, though, if we were to like solve the math.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to say that I haven't solved the math problem completely yet. It's horrendously, well, it's not horrendously complicated. It's a bit complicated and subtle. And there are some things that are causing me a bit of grief. But this one's beautiful, which is 13 plus 21 equals 34.
34.
And there, I'd like you to have a look at get the table in.
Okay, you want me to do it right now?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Let's do it.
And this is a table that's got 3 rows. And it should have 9 columns.
Okay, let me see how. Okay, so 13. Okay, let me see. 13 equals 135x. Yeah. 21 equals 1x. Okay, yeah. And then it's this.
Okay, yeah. I copied the 2 lines from the previous table, and that allows us to calculate 13 plus 21, which is 34.
Yes, I see that.
And 34 is even.
Yes.
And it's 17 times 2. Yeah, 17 plus 17 is 34.
34, yeah.
And the decomposition we've got is 1, 5, 11, dot, 11, 5, 1.
1 to make it 34.
Yeah. But the way we get it's really interesting, because there are 2 11s there, aren't there?
Yes.
And in the previous row, there's 1 11.
Mm-hmm.
And
that makes it 34 regardless, because if you combine those three, then
but where did the other 11 come from? It came from the 13 row.
Yes.
From 3 plus 5 plus 3.
Mm-hmm.
So if we, now I can look at this and sort of navigate with my eyes. And what I'd like you to be able to do, or what I've tried to design it, is so that you can navigate with the keyboard.
Okay.
And can we go to the 5 in the 13 row?
Okay.
Now, not by memory, but just by navigating, can you see that to either side of it, there's a 3?
Equals, okay, let me see. Okay, now, okay, 3 equals 111x. Is that what you want me to?
Yeah, but all I want you to do is to start at that 5 in the 13 row and just read the one cell to the left and the one cell to the right. This is completely opposite of screen reading, where you get it read as quickly as you possibly can. We want to read it slowly as you possibly can. So at the 5 cell, you can navigate and see that there's a 3 to one side and a 3 to the other side in the row.
Okay, 5 equals that one?
No. When I say the 5 row, okay, so we're still doing 13 plus 21 equals 34. Table with 3 rows.
Table, okay, let me see. Column
4. So it's row 1, column 4 should be a 5. What would be really?
4?
Yeah.
Column 4, Jonathan?
Yeah. So there's a row 1, column 4. That should be a 5.
Five equals 20. What's that?
Have you got a 5 there?
5 equals 1. That one?
No, not. Sorry. This. I don't mean the 5 equals 1 plus 3 plus 1. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in 13 equals 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 1.
3, 1. 13 equals 1.
Yeah. Plus
5.
3. Yeah. So stop at the 5. And tell me what you see to the left of the 5 in the same row.
3.
And to the right of the 5 in the same row.
3.
Okay. And beneath the 5 in the next row.
1.
No, beneath the 5 it should be 11.
Okay, let me see.
I think it's a navigation error.
Okay. Let me see.
Okay, let me short circuit this, if you like, but in a useful way, which is, you know what a letter T looks like?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine a letter T. Now I can see with my eyes a pattern, which is that there's 3, 5, 3 on the top of the T, and underneath it, under the 5, there's an 11 and 11 forming the upright of the T.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's part of the calculation. And on the same level as the base of the T, there's another level. There's another 11.
Okay.
So we've got 6 numbers altogether, 1, 5, 3, and then under the 5 we've got an 11 and an 11, and then to the right of the 11 we've got a dot and another 11.
Okay.
Okay, that forms a part of the whole calculation. So the 3, 5, 3 add up to 11, and that gives you one of the 11s in the bottom row.
Oh, okay. I got it now.
And there's an 11 in the middle row, and that gives you the other 11 in the bottom row.
On the other side. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so these are calculations I did to solve my Fibonacci problem, writing it in rows in this way. And we've stumbled a bit, but I've communicated the flavor of everything to you. And I've communicated Pascal's triangle. And the reinforcement that's coming from the web page that you're reading from the screen reader is coming from the tables. And the tables have been set up in this particular way rather than the traditional way of a pyramid with lots of blank space. And that's the accessibility benefit I've got from, so to speak, the research I've been doing. We're looking at this problem. So when I was looking at this problem, I thought, how could I explain this to somebody who can't see? How do I explain this?
Exactly.
And I realized that I have to redo the tables, not so that they're more useful, even though they're less pretty to the eye.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I realized that the traditional way of showing Pascal's triangle doesn't work for accessibility because up and down, because we navigate tables left and right and up and down.
Yes.
We don't navigate them diagonally. We're not used to doing that. So I've learned a lot here. And sorry, I'm just going to move a curtain.
Okay, I honestly like it how you describe it. So like if people would do like, you know, maybe when they create those such a thing, like, you know, with math, and they put like some description on like maybe like an alt text, that honestly, like, it's going to help as far as.
So there's some sort of way of explaining things that you liked.
Like, you know how you explain, we use the, you know how we use the, you know, like an object, like the T, for example, the way, and then you, that's why I'm like, regardless of the fact that I'm not navigating the table, but in my head, I can like put the picture. Like when you using the object, or like, you know, when somebody like, well, I would say use an object, it's easy for us to like really see how it turned out. That's why even we're not doing anything, I can calculate it in my head. I can say, I can tell you the answer right off the bat because I know exactly how, you know, where it comes from, the math, where it comes from. And it's the same way when we're reading this. I can relate the same way, regardless of I'm reading it with screen reader or somebody just tell me how it works. I could do it both ways because of the description.
It's a bit like journalism. A good newspaper report makes you feel gives you the sense that you're there. So even though the diagram isn't in front of you and the screen reader isn't as accommodating, the description is giving you the information you need.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, the way I learn things is, it's just the way how everything presented to me. Like, it doesn't matter if like whatever you're using is you know, you're able to access it with a screen reader or not. but if there's like an if there's like an alt text or something that I can like put a mental image, I can follow faster because of that image description in my head.
Yeah, I've done lots of calculations by hand over the past week with these tables.
That's good.
I found myself making a lot of mistakes and not knowing where things went. And I've discovered that straightening up the tables in the way that I've presented them here made everything easier for me. So I'm in part acting out of self-interest in terms of I have difficulty with this as well. So I don't want to keep you longer than you want to stay, and we've had an hour now.
That's fine.
So
Yeah.
You can stay longer if you want to, and we can bring Nelson and William in the conversation if they want to as well.
Okay. Oh man, I feel so bad that we just kicked them out now. But this is great. Actually, this is like a nice conversation, and it's like nice learning math too, because I like math.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So well, I've learned a lot because there's all sorts of things that make could make communication easier just by sort of setting up infrastructure. And also I should use a screen reader a bit so that I understand the experience.
Oh, that's great. Well, you did a good job on describing though. That's like how I really appreciate it, because it's you know, to be honest, not too many you know, math teachers or teachers who actually like, you know, get to like explain that a bit. That's why I always tell, you know, my professors, you know, I work with them to tell them like, hey, give me a mental image of what, you know, what is this? Because that's how I learn. I'm like a, you know, and unless I see the picture, then I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, I hope Pascal's triangle is something that will be useful to you. And
yeah, I honestly like it.
Has this connection with the bell curve. Fibonacci numbers converge to a number called the golden mean or the golden ratio, which is very important in architecture.
Yes.
And the sort of the beautifully proportioned buildings that the ancient Greeks are famous for revolve in part about the mathematics of the golden mean. And that's the Fibonacci numbers sort of form a spiral, and the ratio converges to the golden mean. And it's got an amazing property, which is that if you take a piece of paper,
yes,
whose proportions are the golden mean, and you cut a square off it, the bit that remains, it still has the same proportions as the golden mean. You cut a square off a rectangular sheet of paper and the proportions remain the same.
Great.
It's a sort of
nice ratio. Thanks for teaching. I actually learned a lot today.
Okay. Well, thank you, Janet. And I've learned a lot, and I'm less frightened now of explaining things to somebody who can't see. So I'm grateful to you.
No, you did a great job. Like, cause like the moment you were reading the number, I can like, oh, this is like, you know, I was able to like really tell you the answers right away.
Well, if you're willing, let's do another experiment of this time in a month or two, if you're interested.
Okay. Just hit me up, and I probably like regularly, you know, attend right now I have 2 classes, but yeah, I try to be here as often as I can. You know, I try to be here, you know, like regularly.
Oh, well, whilst we're being recorded, I should say why I call it a wedding cake.
I know how.
Wedding cakes, at least when I was a child, are built in tiers. So you have a sort of big cake at the base, and then you have a smaller cake on top of it, and then you have a smaller cake on top of that. And
I think I've seen those before.
in the triangle of numbers I've got 3 rows of width 1, of length 1, 3 rows of length 3, 3 rows of length 5, and then underneath it 3 rows of length 7 and 3 rows of length 9. And that's a whole tier of things like a wedding cake. And when Queen Elizabeth, who was then Princess Elizabeth, married in 1947, that was just after the end of the Second World War, and Britain was still under rationing for all sorts of things. They built these enormous wedding cakes to celebrate the wedding with, 4, 5, 6 tiers. And I put some links to that in the bottom of the webpage. Whimsically, the tower I've got from the Fibonacci numbers is a bit like a wedding cake. So that's why I call it a wedding cake. And also it gives some pizzazz to what would otherwise be a piece of boring mathematics.
It's actually fun to learn all those numbers and all the stuff that we learned today.
Patterns in numbers are surprisingly interesting, and we could talk about that another time.
I know.
Because it's so interesting. Are you having to go, Nelson?
No, I just wanted to toss in a couple of things, but you carry on until
you're
ready.
If that's all right with Janet.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. In the form of the Pascal's triangle in Jonathan's second drawing, where everything is shoved to the left rather than as a pyramid, if you take diagonal sums starting from the ones and go upward and right, you end up, and if you sum the numbers on those diagonals, you end up with a Fibonacci sequence, which is an interesting comparison. The second thing is that
yes,
the Fibonacci sequence was introduced in the year 1200 by an Italian mathematician who was Filius Bonacci, the son of Bonacci, and that got shortened to Fibonacci, and that's the name by which we know him today. And that book was published in the year 1202. It was the first book that brought 0 to Europe.
I should have looked at that.
Its Latin name, its Italian name in the dialect where he lived was Zafiro, and that got shortened to 0, which is what's used in most languages, at least in Western Europe. And that book was first published in English 800 years later in the year 2002, so not so long ago. And it's full of little problems. And where the Fibonacci sequence arises is that in the book, he says, supposing we have one rabbit and we get another rabbit, and then they breed and we get a third rabbit. So now we have 1, 1, and we've added, we add those together, we have 2. And then they breed again, and a month later there's another rabbit, and so on. And so if rabbits never die, the population growth is exactly the Fibonacci sequence, which grows exponentially to the power of the golden mean. And it turns out that this pattern of Fibonacci numbers shows up in broccoli and artichokes and a number of other plants. There are pictures on the web that one can find that will show these. Pineapples is another one. So it's an amazing sequence that is tossed. It just shows up in so many different places. There's a journal that was founded 40 or 50 years ago called the Fibonacci Quarterly, which has now got more than 5,000 articles in it. So there's a huge amount of work that's gone into it. And it's just astonishing how often it turns up. So here's a really strange relationship. If you ask for the greatest common divisor of 2 numbers, so for example, 9 and 6, they're both divisible by 3. So 3 is the greatest common denominator of those 2. that algorithm for figuring out how to compute the greatest common denominator was known to the Greeks about 300 or 400 BC, so well over 2,000 years. But it wasn't until the 1980s and 90s that it was analyzed, where people asked, what's the worst case number of iterations it takes to compute the greatest common denominator? And surprisingly, it turns out the worst case happens is when the two numbers are successive Fibonacci numbers. So the patterns that appear in mathematics just continue to boggle the mind. And that's why mathematicians have such fun.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Nelson.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you carry on with your studies and learn more about math, because it's a fascinating field.
Oh,
And
yes.
even though ordinary people think mathematicians are a bit weird, and some of them certainly are, mostly they're enjoying discovering patterns and relationships, and that's good for the brain.
Exactly.
So I'm done.
Thank you for playing ball, as we say, Janet. It's been really good because it's both confirmed and corrected the things, and it's given me some confidence that there's some value in what I'm doing. Because it's only when somebody with a disability can access something that we can say that the object has been successfully made accessible. And it's worked to a degree which is really promising, and the difficulties you have makes me think, well, there's opportunity for improvement, and that's great too.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Appreciate it. And thanks for teaching. I really enjoyed it.